Hi guys, this is Mr. Burke coming to you from an undisclosed location. As you guys know, the College Board has recently announced some changes to the AP exam. Your test is going to be 45 minutes. It will not have any multiple choice questions. It will be some sort of free response questions, and it will only cover time periods 1 through 7. So the good news is we are finishing up time period 7 next week. That will be the chapter 25 on World War II, which you will start on Thursday and Friday of this week and continue to work on next week. Some of you guys have sent me your Chapter 23 study guide. I thank you for that. Make sure you're submitting all the work through Edmodo. If you have any concerns, you can always email me. I'll be putting Chapter 23 study guide grades up this week. After we finish Chapter 25, which is World War II, we will concentrate on reviewing for the AP test. Okay, there's some great sites out there that you guys should be looking at. Hopefully you're following that 2-month review plan that I gave to you guys before we went on leave. Okay, follow that. And if you have any questions, please post your questions on Edmodo or email me. Okay, I'm trying to learn Edmodo. What I will do is each week I will put up all of the handouts for the entire week on my webpage. And then each day, starting on Monday, I will put up one handout that you're supposed to work on Monday. Complete that, submit it through Edmodo. I will put up Tuesday's work, complete that, submit it through Edmodo. If you have questions as you're working on this, if you have questions with completing it, always send me a email or send me a message through Edmodo. Now, what I want to show you guys are the answer keys to the 1920s work that we had started in class and then you guys finished up last week. So if we take a look at this handout over here, okay, this is the handout that we started in class, talking about World War I and the Red Scare. It was talking about the Ku Klux Klan, okay, and the strikes that took place. If this is difficult for any of you guys to see, please feel free to send me your questions. This was a long answer essay on immigration, prohibition, and religion. I'm not going to go too much more into depth on that because we had covered that in our classes before we went on vacation. Some of you guys had questions on the back side of that sheet. The business of America. Okay, the business of America, remember, is business. You want to focus on those Republican presidents, starting with Harding, continuing through Coolidge, and finishing up with Hoover. Make sure you could compare the 1920s with the 1950s and the 1980s. Okay, this is the question sheet on the 20s women, how their fashion changed, how their jobs changed, how their behavior changed. So be aware of that. Now at the bottom of some of these handouts, you'll notice that I put long essay questions. Some of you guys have asked, should I write a full essay? Should I write a thesis? What should I do? Just bullet your answers. Okay, remember, in an essay, we're looking for your first paragraph to include context and thesis. We're looking for 3 body paragraphs with 3 pieces of evidence, and then your conclusion paragraph. And in your conclusion paragraph, that's where you want to work on synthesis. This was an essay question asked in 2003 about race relations in the 1920s compared to race relations in the 1950s. Then it asked about the role of women in the 1920s as compared to the role of women in the 1950s. And then finally, big theme, consumerism. 1920s consumerism as compared to 1950s consumerism. And as you guys that are watching the news right now and you're focusing on the virus and you're focusing on its impact on the economy, you can see how much we rely on consumerism, purchasing power of the American people. Okay, the Harlem Renaissance, big cultural theme of the 1920s. Remember Du Bois as compared to Marcus Garvey, okay, in the works of literature, performers, and music with that Harlem Renaissance. This is a sheet. You guys did some nice work on this, okay, comparing rural America and urban America and the key issues: League of Nations, Scopes trial, prohibition, flappers, immigration, the Ku Klux Klan. So be familiar with this, okay? You want to do a nice compare and contrast job here. Some of you guys sent me some questions about Sacco and Vanzetti, the famous case in the 1920s. This was a display of nativism. The election of 1928, Al Smith, the first Catholic, versus Herbert Hoover. Okay, your Lost Generation writers, some of you guys are familiar with that from your English classes, and the great works of Sinclair Lewis and F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know you guys are all doing a lot of reading out there. Podcast, don't forget In the Past Lane as a nice podcast to review for the AP test. This is culture shock. 1920 is the first time the U.S. Census announces that we have more people living in urban areas than rural areas, and that creates a lot of that conflict that we see, and we still see today between urban America and rural America and the values that they view as being important. These are the note sheets. I'll put these up with every chapter going forward. We've used some of these in class. On the left side of are the notes that you guys get, and then on the right side are the notes that we usually add. Some of you guys are always complaining, like, I don't know where to put the notes, I don't have enough lines to write. You can see there's plenty of room there. Okay, it is important. Use this as a good lesson this time to prepare for college, where you guys got to read, you guys got to take your own notes, you guys got to figure out what's important and what's not important. So if there's one positive to come out of this, that will definitely be it. And make sure you guys are engaging with each other. If you're not sure, reach out to each other. I'm always here to help you guys, but use this as a time where you guys can also help each other in your preparation for this exam. Okay, these are conservative Republican presidents, 1920 to 1933, really 1921 to 1933. I'll suggest those years. But you have Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover, okay, and the big policies. And the Secretary of the Treasury at this time is Andrew Mellon. The key theme, trickle-down economics. And always remember, the business of America is business. So they're going to do whatever benefits the businesses. That's where you see a pushback on workers' rights, pushback on unions. Some companies, like Henry Ford, will practice forms of welfare in their workplace, offering people retirement, offering people health care. Okay, and again, remember the precedents that these set. Okay, this causes of business prosperity, the mixed economic development. Your corporations, your businesses will do well, the farmers will not. And when the farmers reach out to the federal government for aid, the federal government is not going to be responsive to them. The federal government's not listening to them. They're not concerned about that. You'll see that with Coolidge vetoing numerous bills that would have helped the farmers. The farmers will experience the Depression before the rest of the country does. This is a true-false quiz that I had given a number of years ago. So I'll give you the answers here. You can take a look at it. It might help you. You guys on Wednesday are going to work on 59 multiple choice questions. Okay, just work on them. I'll put an answer key up there for you guys next week on those questions. It'll be good preparation. I'm not going to grade it as a test. We were going to have it as a take-home test. I don't think we will. I think we'll just do the Chapter 23 and Chapter 24 study guides as your final 2 grades for the quarters. Okay, fill in the blank test quiz that I had given in the past. The page numbers correspond to the textbook. I don't know if it necessarily corresponds to your white textbook. There was an older orange textbook that I had used before. This was an essay question given in 2008 about advertising, entertainment, and mass production in the 1920s. So it covers some of the big themes that you guys were looking at when studying and reading about the 1920s. Finally, this last sheet, okay, isolationism, fact or revisionist battleground. One of the big themes they like to focus in on is the United States as an isolationist nation after World War I. I don't know if isolation is the correct term. You'll see the tenets of U.S. foreign policy, the doctrines that we used to follow, be familiar with all of those, and of course don't forget the advice of George Washington avoiding foreign affairs. This will be a big change after World War II where we become globally involved. And again, make comparisons to today. There's an article in today's paper about the United States, how countries used to always be able to rely on the United States at times of crisis like this with the virus, at times of economic strife in 2008. And now countries around the world are concerned that the United States is not as generous as it once was. And you wonder if going forward, this will be the time period where we look at what the Chinese are offering, especially Italy, especially some of the countries in the Balkans area. Are they going to overtake us? One of the big items after World War II that the United States will benefit from is what they refer to as soft power. Soft power being kind and generous. After World War I, the United States was involved in foreign affairs conferences and discussions, but they weren't necessarily willing to enforce any of these doctrines. And that, of course, will become a problem when Hitler begins to rebuild and violate the Treaty of Versailles. So I hope this helps you guys out. I will try and do this at the beginning of each week. If you have any questions or any concerns, please reach out to me, okay? I'm learning all of this. You guys are probably much savvier than I am with this. But we'll take it from here and going forward. I hope you guys all stay healthy. I miss you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.